My fellow Americans, I'm back with you, still alive, and this is going to be probably my most profound video that I'll ever do. Now, Japanese, I'm showing you Pearl Harbor. I don't know, if you're cognizant of the history of Pearl Harbor, most of you may not be. Japanese attacked us. They were almost like a religious nation. They worshipped the emperor. They attacked America in Pearl Harbor and almost killed 3,000 people. And it was mostly military people, too, of course. And, not people that have not asked to be in harm's way. What did we do? What did the President of the United States do? And Congress supported them. We started a war. A war! Not a police action, which we won in a few short years. We also cut off the borders, didn't let any Japanese people in this country anymore. And we also interned all the ones that did exist here. Too bad. I know it sounds cruel, but look at the facts. We won that war, and, we lost a lot of men, but Japan has never risen again. Japan is a relatively peaceful nation. If anything, they're trying to beat us capitalistic-wise. I guess it worked, didn't it? Well, I'm going to ask you a question. Think about this. Call your media, call your congressmen and senators, ask them the same question, okay? Ask them, did they ever hear any American Islamics or any Muslims or Muslim leaders condemn 9/11, which is coming up here right now, real shortly? Did you ever hear them condemn did you ever hear them condemn when they cut people's heads off and ears off and cut their tongues out? Of course not. Because they wouldn't do those kind of things, the American Islamics, or Bill O'Reilly calls them reformed, which they're really not. But they support them because it's in the Quran. I've read in many of my videos. I read from you the Quran. It's in the Quran. There is the end of World War II, by the way. Pretty significant, isn't it? Didn't take us 9 years. Of course, we've been fighting this war for 9 years, and it's even worse. They're closer to victory than we are. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. Do you ever hear any Islamics even say that, we should negotiate with these people? No. You ever hear any Islamics say, they're a little bit too cruel and too harsh the way they're fighting this war and killing non-combatants? No. Never did. So, don't be afraid of what should happen. Obvious to me, I don't know why it's not obvious to all of you, but as soon as 9/11 occurred, Bush should have done the same thing that was done during the Second World War when the Japanese attacked. He should have closed the borders to all Islamics, locked up all of them, or give them a choice. Let them go back to their country and give up all their land and prosperity, okay, that they have here, or intern them in like prisoner of war camps. I'm sorry, it sounds cruel, but and then fight a real war. And I don't want to explain you that, okay, because that's just too harsh. But even a war like World War II, which ended, of course, with 2 atomic bombs before the Japanese would quit. Now, you think these Islamics are going to quit? I don't think so. They're never going to quit. There's more aggravation and hatred towards Americans now in all of history. And they're taught to be that way. Even the Islamics that live here hate Americans, okay? They hate your guts. If they could kill you, they would kill you. They're waiting for the violent ones to kill you. And they will eventually. You've got to stop this. You think our economic situation is bad? It's nothing compared to what these people will do if they're allowed to continue on. Now, I don't know why. Somebody who's quite profound in my mind is Bill O'Reilly, and he speaks of this reform movement, and I explained it in other videos how they came up with this. I guess they came up with it this way because they've taken all things out of the Quran that refers to jihad and put it in a separate book. But you can't do that. They still believe those things. And I'm just, again, ask you a question. Have you ever heard any Islamic, Muslim, leader or not leader, condemn 9/11 and all the barbarian acts afterwards? I don't think so, because they never have. Because they can't. If they believe in the Quran and Islamic religion, they can't. Because part of it is jihad, war, and killing us because we don't believe in what they're very, very much like Japan, by the way. They're imperialistic. They're religiously imperialistic, and they want to take over the world. Why? It's in their Quran. It's part of their religion to take over the world. If not, they're to eliminate everybody that they will not follow Islam. It's simple. I've read to you various sections from the Islamic, Quran. I've read to you sections of scholars, what they think about it and everything else. And you Americans keep allowing this police action to go on, and our young men and women dying and being suffered and being tortured for the rest of their lives when they're wounded. It's usually about a 5-to-1 ratio. You always hear the deaths on television and news media. They never tell you how many are wounded. I think it's about a 5-to-1. Some wars it's been 7-to-1. Think about that. All those people that are just dying in vain and accomplishing nothing. They're even exasperating the situation. They're making it worse by fighting this war. There's a general, he's fighting a war. He's not fighting a war. It's a police action. That's all it is a police action. And it's never going to result in victory in any form or fashion. I'm showing you some very interesting pictures. Some of these pictures I got up here you'll never see before because I got them from friends and they're private pictures, okay? Now, what can you do about this? Well, the first thing you should do is, I've told you this many times, is vote these people out of office. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I see some good signs that way. But that's a long-term solution. The first solution is start calling the media, drive them nuts, and tell them, why didn't you make these comparisons to Pearl Harbor and the Japanese versus the Islam? Why didn't you bring out the fact that these Islamic people and American Islamics all over the world, in fact, support what the terrorists are doing? I mean, you classify them, the media classifies them as being separate. They're not separate. If somebody supports them financially or verbally or in any way a terrorist, he is a terrorist. He or she is a terrorist. I remember once on Bill O'Reilly's show, who I watch, religiously, had this young woman, Islamic woman, who was saying, they were supporting praying for peace and praying for prosperity and praying, there'd be peace on earth with respect to Islam, of course, because that's their whole life. And then he asked her, well, did you condemn 9/11? Do you condemn some of these actions? And she wouldn't say she condemned, and she says, well, she just doesn't agree with them. They're not the right way to do things. They're not the right way to conquer the world. He couldn't get her to say that. And he finally said to her, well, you're saying that indirectly, but all your other followers don't say it at all. Well, she said, well, you call me every day. Well, that's one Islamic woman that believes in peace. I don't know how she can believe in peace because, if she's Islamic, she has to believe in war. It's part of her religion. It's a fundamental part of her religion. So he just let her go on. He was very polite with her, which, he's a very polite man overall, and especially towards women. But the fact is, she didn't condemn 9/11. She didn't condemn terrorist acts. She didn't condemn cutting off the heads and ears and blowing up our young men and women like crazy and torturing for the rest of life and driving them insane. That's what's happening, by the way. That is what is happening. Now, our society is being driven insane by insane notions. Now, why didn't Bush do this? I'll tell you why Bush didn't do this. Bush wasn't that smart. Obama is not even as smart as Bush was, and of course they're making him like a godlike figure. How absurd! How absurd! These people, just because they're articulate and they look good and they have families, you think that's a premise for being wise? There's nothing to it. Being wise is assimilating a lot of historical knowledge, a lot of a knowledge, assimilating it, and so that all your decisions, all your syllogisms, all your conclusions come from that mass of information that you've acquired through years of studying and learning and experiencing. That's what wisdom is. So none of these people are wise at all. I don't know any that's wise. Probably the only person a couple of people that I know are wise is Rush Limbaugh is wise, even though he doesn't speak this because he's afraid to. They're coming after me all the time, by the way. And Glenn Beck is a wise man. Bill O'Reilly is a wise man. And Hannity is fairly wise. He's working on wisdom. His fault is supporting the troops, which is synonymous with supporting the government. Thanks for listening. Please pass this one on and start acting, calling the media, bugging the heck out of them until they start reporting the truth, the real way to solve the Islamic problem, before it's too late.